Entitled HOA president tries to foreclose on my house over a fence. So I legally dissolve the entire HOA and send him to prison. A corrupt homeowners association president targets my property with $30,000 in fake fines to force a foreclosure and steal my home. Little did he know, I am a corporate lawyer. I dug into the 40-year-old bylaws, found a fatal loophole, and uncovered a massive embezzlement scheme. My power-hungry HOA president tried to steal my house by illegally fining me $30,000 for a fence I never even built. He planned to foreclose on my property and buy it at a massive discount for his son to live in. He thought I was just a clueless new homeowner who would easily get intimidated and back down. But he didn't realize one crucial detail. I am a corporate lawyer specializing in real estate and contract law. Instead of paying his ridiculous fines, I used a forgotten 40-year-old loophole in the bylaws to legally dissolve the entire homeowners association, drain their corporate accounts, and send him to federal prison for fraud. Here is exactly how I systematically destroyed his little empire. It all started about 2 years ago when I bought a beautiful 4-bedroom house in a quiet, upscale suburban neighborhood. On paper, it was my dream home. The price was right, the location was perfect, and the neighbors seemed friendly enough. I knew there was a homeowners association, but the monthly fees were low, and the rules seemed standard. Keep your grass cut, don't paint your house neon pink, that sort of thing. I didn't think much of it until I met Richard. Richard was the HOA president. He was a retired, bitter man in his late 60s who treated our suburban street like his own personal military dictatorship. He drove around in a customized golf cart with a clipboard, measuring grass with a ruler and peeking over fences to find violations. From the moment I moved in, Richard hated me. I think it was because I didn't attend his mandatory welcome committee meeting, which was really just an excuse for him to establish dominance over new residents. For the first 6 months, Richard harassed me with petty fines. $50 because my trash cans were left on the curb for 10 extra minutes after the garbage truck passed. $100 because my holiday lights were left up 2 days past his arbitrary deadline. I paid the first few just to keep the peace, but then he crossed a massive line. I received a certified letter in the mail stating I was being fined $30,000 for an unauthorized and non-compliant privacy fence in my backyard. The letter stated that if I didn't pay the fine and tear down the fence within 14 days, the HOA would place a lien on my house and begin foreclosure proceedings. Here was the catch. I didn't build that fence. It had been installed by the previous owner over a decade ago and was completely grandfathered in. When I confronted Richard in his driveway, he just smirked at me. He told me that ignorance of the rules wasn't an excuse, and if I couldn't afford the neighborhood, I should pack up and leave. I was furious, but I didn't yell. I smiled, turned around, and went straight to my home office. As a corporate lawyer, reading boring, dense legal documents is what I do for a living. I requested the complete, original HOA charter, the bylaws, and the last 10 years of financial records. Richard tried to block my request, but legally he had to provide them. I spent the next 3 nights surviving on black coffee, reading thousands of pages of 40-year-old typewritten documents. That is when I struck absolute gold. First, I discovered a fatal administrative error. According to the state laws where I live, an HOA charter must be officially renewed with the state government every 20 years. The original charter was filed 42 years ago, and it was renewed 22 years ago. Richard and the board had completely forgotten to file the renewal paperwork 2 years prior. Legally speaking, the homeowners association had ceased to exist. Every fine they had issued and every fee they had collected over the last 2 years was technically a form of extortion. Much better. While reviewing the financial ledgers, I noticed strange discrepancies. There were massive payments going to a landscaping company and a community maintenance contractor that I had never seen working in our neighborhood. I hired a private investigator friend of mine to look into the LLCs receiving the money. It took him less than 24 hours to find out that both companies were registered under the maiden name of Richard's wife. For over 5 years, Richard had been funneling our HOA dues and the money from his aggressive fines directly into his own pockets. He had stolen nearly $250,000. He was using the money to fund lavish vacations, buy a new boat, and even pay for his son's college tuition. He was intentionally trying to foreclose on my house so he could force a quick auction and buy it using the stolen HOA funds. I didn't say a word to Richard. Instead, I compiled a massive binder of evidence. I contacted the state attorney general, the IRS, and the local police department's financial crimes unit. I handed over everything. Then I waited for the annual neighborhood block party, which Richard always hosted in the community park to show off his power. Everyone was there, eating hot dogs and making small talk. Richard stood up on a picnic bench with a microphone, ready to give his annual speech about neighborhood compliance. Before he could say a word, 4 unmarked police cruisers and 2 black SUVs rolled onto the grass. 7 detectives in windbreakers got out and surrounded Richard. In front of the entire neighborhood, they slapped handcuffs on him and read him his rights. They seized his golf cart, his clipboard, and eventually his house.